Everything on the savanna moves. The herds move with the rain, the predators move with the herds, the rain itself moves with the seasons. The whole place is built on circulation. And standing in the middle of it, holding still, is a tree that may not have moved in 1,000 years. The grassland's most permanent resident is also its strangest-looking one, a gray tower of a trunk, vastly too wide for its branches, as if most of the tree had decided to stay underground and only sent the smallest part up to look around. The African baobab, Adinsonia digitata, is the continental member of a small genus. Most of its relatives grow on Madagascar, and it carries the name of Michel Adanson, the French botanist who described it from Senegal in the 1750s. Old individuals are among the widest trees on Earth. Trunks can reach 30 meters around, about 100 feet, a girth that has nothing to do with holding the tree up. The trunk is not structure. It is storage. Baobab wood is soft, fibrous, and spongy, closer to a wet sponge than to timber, and in the brief season when rain stands on the savanna, the tree drinks on a scale that changes its own shape. Water is pulled in and held in the trunk by the ton, and the tree visibly swells. Through the long drought that follows, as the reserve is spent, the same trunk measurably shrinks, like a slow chest exhaling across 6 months. A baobab is a reservoir on roots. It banks the wet season inside its own body and spends it across the dry one. The rest of the tree's oddity follows from that budget. Leaves cost water, so the baobab carries them only while water is cheap. For up to 9 months of the year, it stands completely bare, photosynthesizing barely or not at all, a tree on standby. The bare branches against the sky, stubby, root-like, raised as if the tree had been planted upside down, gave rise to the old legend that a god, displeased, had done exactly that. When the leaves finally come, they come with the rains, and the flowers come with the dark, large, white, and heavy-scented, opening at dusk. The pollinators arrive on wings, fruit bats, drawn across the night savanna to a scent like ripening fruit, and the result, months later, is a hard-shelled pod of seeds packed in a dry, tart pulp that people across Africa have eaten for as long as anyone has records. Leaves cooked as greens, seeds pressed and roasted, pulp eaten or stirred into drinks, even dye drawn from the roots. The baobab is a pantry as well as a reservoir. In a hard drought, the stored water makes the tree a target of last resort. Elephants strip the bark and tear into the wet wood itself, gouging cavities a meter deep into the trunk to chew the moisture out of the fiber. It would kill most trees. The baobab's response is to grow over the damaged, new bark sealing the wound, the trunk carrying the scar the way old ships carry repairs. And many of the great baobabs of East and Southern Africa stand visibly patched, decades and centuries of elephant droughts written into their sides. The oldest individuals are usually hollow, their core long since opened into a chamber. People have used such trees as grain stores, shelters, and cisterns, which is fitting work for a tree that was always, structurally, a tank. The clock all this runs on is difficult to take in. A baobab lives 1,000 years routinely. Common estimates run to 1,500, and radiocarbon dating, the only honest way to age a tree with no reliable rings and a hollow heart, has pushed some individuals well past 2,000. A big baobab on the Serengeti was already old when the lion's Roman audience was watching it fight. And the same dating work carries the era's quiet footnote. In the space of about a decade, researchers documented the death or partial collapse of most of the oldest and largest baobabs known, trees that had stood for 1 and 2 millennia, with the cause still formally unsettled, and a drying, warming climate the suspected contributor. It is recorded here as the scientists recorded it, an observation made once about the oldest things on the plain. The herds will pass the tree again tomorrow, and the year after, and the century after that. At dusk, the bare crown stands against the first stars, and the bats are already arriving, finding the pale flowers by scent, circulation, meeting storage, the savanna's 2 strategies keeping their old appointment in the dark.